you have already been played. Not by a stranger, by someone you trusted. And the worst part is that part of you already knows it. You just have not let yourself say it out loud yet. That is not a guess. That is the pattern. Most people who get taken advantage of do not miss the signals because the signals were not there. They miss them because they were trained to dismiss them. Be generous. Give the benefit of the doubt. Do not assume the worst in people. And that advice is not wrong. It is just half a sentence. Nobody bothered to finish it. This video is the other half. What's up, guys? What you are about to hear is not a list of tactics. It is a shift in how you process the world in real time. The kind of clarity that, once it lands, you cannot unknow. Let's get into it. Here is what most people get wrong. They think the problem is not knowing enough strategies, more frameworks, more formulas. But the actual problem is simpler and harder to fix. Most of us see what we want to see instead of what is actually there. And we have been doing it so long it does not feel like a choice anymore. It feels like trust. Research on motivated reasoning suggests that people do not just rationalize bad decisions after the fact. They actively filter incoming information to protect beliefs they already hold. In plain terms, you can watch someone betray you in slow motion and still not see it. Because seeing it would cost you something you are not ready to lose yet. That is not weakness. That is how the brain works. But knowing it does not mean you have to stay stuck inside it. Start with this. People do not run on the values they claim. They run on the interests they protect. Most of us know this in theory, but when someone we care about suddenly becomes unavailable, suddenly has a good reason for every single time they were not there, we still reach for an explanation that keeps them in the good column, because the alternative is painful. What actually happened is simpler. Their interest moved, and here is the part that rearranges things. The brain is extraordinarily good at building a moral case for whatever it already wanted to do. So the person who disappeared on you is not necessarily lying. They may have genuinely convinced themselves they had good reasons. The tell is not whether their explanation is believable. The tell is the direction the explanations always seem to point. If every principled decision they make also benefits them and costs you, that direction is the data. Watch what people protect when protecting it costs them something. That is the honest version of who they are. But here is the part nobody talks about. This applies to you too. The gap between what you say you value and what you actually protect when the stakes are real is worth auditing. The people who grow fastest are not the ones with the best frameworks. They are the ones willing to hold themselves to the same standard they hold everyone else. Now let's talk about image, because this is where things get dangerous in a way most people never see coming. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." He was not being cynical. He was being precise. And if you let that land for a second, it cuts in two directions at once. The first direction is obvious. Some people construct a presentation specifically to get access that a direct approach would never earn. The person who is warm, humble, quick to admit a flaw. That image drops your guard. A lowered guard is access. Not always, but often enough to watch for the gap between how someone performs and who they are when there is nothing to gain from keeping up the front. Here is the tell: real people have friction, off days, contradictions, moments of pettiness they did not mean to show. When someone's presentation is perfectly smooth across every context, that consistency is effort. Effort sustained over time always has a purpose behind it. The second direction cuts closer to home. Most people have a gap between how they present and who they actually are. Shrinking that gap is not about performing better. It is about aligning more. That kind of coherence is rare. People feel it before they can name it. and it is more powerful than any polished version of yourself you could ever construct. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. The people who quietly work against you are almost never strangers. They are close, they have context, and the signs are almost always there early, just subtle enough that each one alone can be explained away. Social psychologist Dr. Keltner at UC Berkeley spent years studying what he called the power paradox. The behaviors that earn us influence, warmth, attentiveness, and generosity are often the first to disappear once we have it. What is left when the social cost of cruelty disappears is what was always underneath. The cruelty was not created by the power. The power just removed the conditions that kept it hidden. This is why watching someone when they win tells you more about them than anything they did while they were struggling. How they talk to people who cannot push back, whether they remember who was there for them, whether they press after they have already won. These are not small details. They are the most honest preview of who will be standing next to you when it matters. The protection is not paranoia. It is pattern recognition. One incident is an incident. A pattern is information, and when you line up the incidents and they all point the same direction, that is not suspicion. That is honesty. The most expensive thing you can do is stay loyal to a version of someone that no longer exists. Most people stop here. They treat awareness as a destination. They watch people more carefully, they feel smarter, and they wait. But that is where the cost actually lives. Because a window opens in every significant situation. A moment when the right move is available, the price is manageable, the outcome is still shapeable. And most people do not move in that window. They wait for certainty that never comes. They push it back until the small tension becomes a real crisis, and the conversation they avoided is now 10 times harder, and the damage is already baked in. Ask yourself honestly, am I still gathering information, or am I just avoiding the discomfort of moving? If another month will not change what you already understand, you are not preparing. You are stalling. Here is the thing about this kind of awareness. It does not make you colder. It makes you freer. You stop spending energy on confusion that was never actually confusing. You stop being surprised by the predictable. You see clearly. And when you give trust from that place, it means something completely different. Not given out of habit, not given out of fear of seeming unkind. Given deliberately, to people who have earned it in the moments that actually counted. That is not paranoia, that is wisdom. And it is available to anyone willing to look at what is actually in front of them instead of what they want to be there. If this landed for you, hit the like button right now and share it with someone who keeps getting hurt by the same situations and cannot figure out why. They need this more than they know. And if you are not subscribed yet, this is what we do at Vertex Vision. We go deep on the things most people avoid thinking about. See you in the next one.